Reverend Brown, can you tell us about your distinctive voice? Um, because I know a lot of people are going to want you to do commercials, they're going to want you to do voiceovers, because your voice sounds like James Earl Jones and a few other famous people. So tell us when you discovered that you had a God-given voice.
Well, some years ago, I used to try to emulate or imitate people and try to use their voice and practice and so forth. And it kind of helped me to be able to pinpoint, especially the voices that I liked uh, in terms of people. So James Earl Jones was one I heard all the time, and people would say to me, "You sound like James Earl Jones." And then Dr. King, people would say, "I sound like Dr. King." And I used to listen at his messages and speeches and all. And one, he would say, "We have some difficult days ahead of us. And we need to still move in this movement nonviolently. Because if we move nonviolently, then we have a chance. But violence does not bring on nothing but bloodshed and murder and killing. But if we walk with God and walk with the Lord, then we have a chance." I've been to the mountaintop and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we as a people, we can make it to the promised land. So those are some of the things that I learned from Dr. King. And not only that, his magnificent voice, but this is just my regular voice.
Right.
That's how some of that started.
Okay, now I know your website is preacherbrown.com. So if people want a voiceover for their advertisement, if they're having an event, or if they want a voicemail, they can go to preacherbrown.com and they will be able to fill out one of the forms so you can do a voiceover for them. Now, on the James Earl Jones, can you emulate that?
Yes, James Earl Jones has a rich, distinct voice, and he does commercials and movies and so forth. And there's one commercial he does, and they would ask him a question about how do I get in touch with you? And he'd say, "My name is James L. Jones, and you can call me 1-800-COLLECT." And sometimes I just use that cliche to make people laugh. And they say, "Oh yeah, you do sound like James L. Jones." But actually, his wording and his distinct voice, he can take his words and make you listen to them. And sometimes they're not really highfalutin words, but they just words with his distinct voice that he magnifies, and you hear it and you enjoy hearing him. So that's how that came about. But he says, "My name is James Earl Jones, and if you need me, just call me 1-800-COLLECT." Thank you.
Now, I know in order to get James Earl Jones, for people like that to recite or do a commercial is thousands of dollars. But they can just go to www.preacherbrown.com and they can get a commercial done for literally a few $100s from your voice. So I want people to know that they can go to preacherbrown.com for a voiceover at a fraction of a cost that sounds like Martin Luther King or James Earl Jones. Now, we want to move on to the next segment. So have you ever heard when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen?
Yeah.
Can you recite that for us or say that? Just say when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. I want to hear that.
When E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen.
Now, I want you to do that Martin Luther King, I've been to the mountaintop. I just want to hear a sentence or whatever. The world wants to hear that.
I've been to the mountaintop, and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. And we are the people, we can get to the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we are the people. We can get to the promised land.
Okay. Now, tell them, can you do a voicemail recording? So say you reached the voicemail of Miracle Barbie MD. Please leave your name and number. Can you say that?
Say the phrase again.
You reached the voicemail of Miracle Barbie MD.
Miracle Barbie.
Yes. Miracle MD, yes.
MD. You have reached the voicemail of Miracle Barbie MD.
Okay. Can you say you have reached the voicemail of Razor Chick?
I didn't hear that last part.
Okay, I want you to say you have reached the voicemail of Razor Chick.
Razor Chips.
Chick, C-H-I-C, Chick.
Chip.
Chick, C-H-I-C.
Chick.
C-H-I-C.
Got you, Chick. You have reached the voicemail of Razor Chick.
Okay, yeah. Now, leave a voicemail for yourself. You have reached the voicemail of Preacher Brown.
You have reached the voicemail of Preacher Brown.
Okay. Now, if someone was calling you and they couldn't contact you, could you do a full version like you have reached the voicemail of Preacher Brown? Thank you for calling. Please leave your name and number, whatever, and I'll get back with you.
Okay. Hello, you have reached the voicemail of Preacher Brown. Please leave your name and number, and I will get back to you soon as possible.
Okay. Now, what about Meet the Browns or gospel comedy? Can you talk a little bit or do some mimics on that?
Say that again.
Can you do some mimics or anything on gospel comedy or preach or the Browns, Meet the Browns?
Oh. Well, Carver, you never listen to me. And Carver, I'm going to get scared if you don't stop. Carver, please, please, Carver, or else I'm going to cry. Is that what you're looking for?
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay.
You must watch them all the time.
Huh?
You must watch them all the time.
I've been watching them, off and on ever since they've been on television, yes.
Okay. I know a lot of people are going to see this on YouTube and on social media. So they're going to be contacting you at www.preacherbrown.com and filling out that form for you to do voiceover. So I thank you for having us on here, and I know you're going to be sharing a lot more with the world. So thank you very much.